Howdy, Mike McCoy here. Filming my, I guess you'd call this a RV shed or just a shed, really. But this is the big part of it here. Turn around. We still ain't boxed in this side. Out there. And over here's another, the smaller part. This is where my son parks his boat. And when we built it, it was too short. It stopped right there. And we had to add this much onto it for his boat. I figured this would be a God's plenty, but his boat, by the time you allow the tongue and the setback on the motor and everything, is over 25 feet long. And we got this done. We added all that, and then we boxed it in the back so rain and stuff wouldn't come in here, and put up that tent there. And then we boxed this in back here. This is the back of the building, and you can see it's on an angle, and I put that on that 45-degree angle for a reason, and the reason being it'll brace it more. It's just like every one of them boards is a brace when it's turned that way, so if the wind pushes toward it, it'll help support the building. And about all the wind we get, it comes this way. And then we boxed in this a little bit back here, and I had a pretty good sized white pine log down there, and I just went down there and sawed it this morning. And you can see there, them boards is 16 inches wide. Done a real good job. I'm proud of it. And we'll probably leave that upper part there kind of open for ventilation. And this part here, we're going to come down from the top 10 foot. And then I think that's 14 foot. And then from the bottom, we're going to come up with 4x8 sheets of that lattice work that you can buy. And then that way it'll get ventilation in it. And then back here in the back, I'm going to put a garage door over there. And we really have not made up our mind if we're going to put a garage door in this end or not. We may, but one that big would be quite expensive, and I just don't know if we want to spend that kind of money. But this thing turned out real well. The cement floor is kind of rough, but the cement was free. We made a deal with the local cement company to take all their excess, and they brought in something like 300 yards last summer. And we poured this and poured the road down to the sawmill and all around the sawmill, and poured the other garage out there too. So we're in pretty good shape as far as cement. But this is our creation, and we're not carpenters. I can promise you that. You can look and tell these things here, it ain't nowhere near up to code, but you know, it is what it is, and it ain't failed yet. And we've had this shed probably 3 years. And you can see I put X braces in it there, in there, in there. And we had this netting hung on it, for my son did have a motorhome. And he sold it, and he's going to buy him another one. That didn't suit him, so he's going to get him some other kind. I don't know what. But that's where it'll live, will be in there. And then back here, you can get a better idea of what the back looks like. It turned out right well. And that darker colored lumber is lumber we've had probably, well, ever since we originally built it. And it's been on sticks to drying. So most of it was like 20 foot long, and it takes a 20 foot long piece to go from top to bottom. And this back here's the boxing we done on the back. So it turned out right well. And then we've still got this corner here. We're going to have to fix that. I'll put some trim boards around that. But this thing, it's turned out right good. And we just run out of room. The property line's not far from here, and see, it just falls off. Really wouldn't know where to put nothing else. That's why I didn't make it no longer than I did to begin with. And here's an old barn that we built when we first bought this property 30 years ago. And we used to have goats and cows and stuff, but we no longer do that. But that old barn's been standing there for, I know, 30 years. And we had a blizzard in '93. And every bit of the snow off that roof there fell down on this shed roof. And that's just 2 before rafters. And I figured, well, that'll hit the ground. But it held it up. Really surprised me. But that old barn's in awful good shape to be as old as it is. It's no more than what we did when we built it. But, and like these boards here, look how weathered they are. My son said we ought to tear them boards off and sell them, put new ones back up there, but that'd be a lot of work. But that's a picture of the shed. Mary Ruth, she's wanting to get her old Monte Carlo out of it and back in the garage where it belongs. So I guess next week it'll be back in its home and the boat will be down here. And it needs a bath awful bad. Even down here it gets dust on it. Just look at the dust on that, and I was going to put a cover on it, and somebody told me that wasn't the best thing to do, because if you put a cover on it, it'll work in back and forth, it'll rub the paint. So, but it's a pretty clean old car, and she'll take it out and get it all washed up every once in a while. We'll drive it around. But there's how I braced that and stuff. Like I say, we were definitely not carpenters. We were sawmillers and just barely that. But this is her sheds, or shed rather. It's basically 2 sheds in one. And I bought me a new saw. Got this skill saw. And that is a handy little fella right there. Saw's awful good. I wished I'd had it. It's got a laser light on it, and it just does good. And we've had this old Makita for years. And it's a big saw, and it's a stout saw. But you can't really tell it, but the little trigger that pulls the guard back is gone. You can't physically pull the guard back, and it throws you off sometimes. But now if I'm having to cut something that's thick or something like that, that's a saw I'll go for. That's a real good saw. And there's my little jigsaw. We use it quite a bit. And this thing here's we got it at Lowe's, and I've never really liked it. I wish I'd have bought something else. It's just not a real good saw to me. But it will cut 10 inches, and the other one I had just cut 8, so it does a little bit better. But I wished I'd got it industrial, it'd cut 12. Well, that's about it for the shed tour. Thank you.